She told me, if I want to go out for drinks with my boss at midnight, I will. It's networking, I said, understood. The next morning, she came home to find my key on the counter and spent the entire afternoon blowing up my phone, begging me not to throw us away over nothing. Hey everyone, before we jump into the story, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button if you want more content like this. Thanks. The scent of garlic and rosemary still lingered in the apartment, a warm little reminder of the dinner I'd cooked, some chicken and potatoes, recipe I'd saved weeks ago, the kind with the crispy roasted sides she loves. The plates were already tucked into the dishwasher, the wine glasses, now empty, rested beside each other on the coffee table. A quiet documentary about the ocean played in the background. It was Tuesday, just an ordinary, calm, good Tuesday. Qley was curled up against me, legs folded under my thigh, lazily scrolling through her phone with that small, distant smile she got when she was relaxed. Her hair smelled like that pricey coconut shampoo she wouldn't let me use, and I remember thinking, this is the moment you work toward. This kind of easy silence after a long day. My hand rested on her ankle, thumb tracing slow, absent-minded circles. Then her phone buzzed. Not a call, short, sharp, unmistakable. That notification. Her body shifted, just enough. The warmth between us pulled tight, replaced by alertness. She unlocked her screen and the blue light washed across her face. Her smile changed. It didn't grow, it sharpened. It became the expression she used when preparing for big meetings, polished, strategic, controlled. A practiced confidence. Mark needs me, she said, already sounding halfway out the door. Okay, I murmured, thumb halting mid-circle. Needs what? The Patterson deck. London sent a last-minute update. He wants to review it before the morning sink. I glanced at the cable box. 11:15 p.m. Tonight? Can't he just email it? She exhaled that clipped little sigh, the one she used when she thought I was purposely not getting it. He's at the loft. He told me to meet him there. We'll have a drink and knock it out. An hour tops. The loft, that moody, overpriced cocktail bar where finance guys and baby partners went to broadcast their ambition. Not exactly a place to power through slides. A cold, unpleasant prickle crawled through my chest. This wasn't new. The Napa team-building retreat I wasn't invited to. The last-minute dinners that ran until 1 a.m. The sudden upgrades to her wardrobe. The scent of a stronger, masculine cologne on her blazer 2 weeks ago, chalked up to someone brushing past her on the train. But this was the first time it was so blatant, so dismissive of me, of us, of that quiet moment on the couch. Qley, come on, I said evenly. You have a laptop. He has a laptop. You can screen share. What part of a slide deck demands a gin and tonic at midnight? She uncurled from the couch in one smooth, irritated movement and stood. She looked down at me with the expression she wore in boardrooms, impatient, superior, unshakable. This is a partner track job, Leo, she said, voice crisp and cold. Not your cushy clock-in, clock-out tech role. This is how real careers are built. Relationships, face-to-face time. Face-to-face time at a bar past midnight with just your boss? The words slipped out before I could stop them, and I instantly regretted it. They sounded small, jealous, exactly what she wanted. Her eyes gleamed. She'd caught her opening. Oh, I get it, she said, folding her arms. A small, cutting smirk curled her lips. We're doing the insecurity thing again. You can't handle that powerful men are part of my network. This isn't about your network. It's about respect. For me. For this. I gestured toward the room, the glasses, the dinner, the space we shared. Respect? She laughed once, dry and humorless. Respect is trusting me. Respect is supporting my ambition, not trying to guilt-trip me because you're alone on the couch for one night. It's not one night. It's a pattern. And it's midnight on a Tuesday. She grabbed her purse with quick, decisive motions and slung it over her shoulder. When she looked at me, the softness from earlier was gone. In its place stood someone who saw me as an annoyance. Let me spell this out, she said, voice dropping low, sharp as a blade. I'm not asking your permission. I'm telling you what I'm doing. If I want to have a drink with my boss at midnight, I will. She let the words hang, letting them burn. Then she twisted it deeper, wrapping it in the language she knew I couldn't challenge without becoming the villain. It's networking. 2 words, an impenetrable shield for every questionable decision. And I just looked at her. At the woman I'd loved for 5 years. The woman I'd helped study for the LSAT before she changed paths. The woman I drove to her internship when her car died. The woman I listened to through 1,000 practice pitches. I'd been her safety net, her hype man, the dependable tech paycheck funding our trips and the stability she treated like background noise. And right then, the truth clicked into place. I wasn't her partner. I was scenery, the steady, unchanging backdrop behind the thrilling storyline of her rise. Mark wasn't simply her supervisor, he was the potential upgrade, the sharper plotline. And that midnight meetup wasn't about PowerPoint slides, it was a tryout, one she was eager to nail. My designated role was to smile from the sidelines and applaud her ambition. Love didn't break. It didn't even sting, it simply vanished. It felt like watching a mirage fade into nothing. All the years, the softness, the imagined future, they dissolved into static and drifted away, leaving a cold, vacant clarity in their place. Brr. He urged to argue drained from me. The tightness in my jaw eased, the fog in my mind disappeared. For the first time in a long while, everything was sharp and simple. Brr. He was bracing for conflict. She wanted tears, raised voices, a scene. She needed that drama to justify whatever step she'd already decided on, to cast me as the insecure obstacle she bravely overcame on her path upward. She needed the story to make sense for herself, refused to deliver it. Brr. Nodded slowly, meeting her eyes. A flicker of something crossed her face, confusion. This wasn't the script she had prepped for. When I spoke, my voice was level, quiet, final. Not pleading, not angry. Just acknowledgement. Bar. Understood. Bar. Or a moment she froze, her earlier triumph slipping. Replaced by something flat and uncertain. She seemed about to push again, to provoke the reaction she required, then stopped herself. The smirk returned. Thinner, shakier, all swagger and no substance. Good, she said, tugging her purse higher. Don't wait up. She walked out. I didn't rise. I just listened. The click of her heels against the hallway floor, the thud of the door closing, and then the hush that followed. The documentary had shifted to a shot of a deep ocean trench, a black fissure cutting through the sea floor. I grabbed the remote and shut the TV off. Silence spilled across the apartment. And in that silence, a decision formed, not fueled by fury, not driven by heartbreak. It was procedural, like canceling an account you don't use anymore. The clock read 11:27 p.m. I had things to do. The quiet wasn't empty. It was crisp and breathable, a kind of clarity I hadn't felt in months. No more tiptoeing, no more tone analysis, no more shrinking myself around a dream that no longer had space for me. I didn't break down. I didn't lash out. I just sat there for a few minutes, listening to the hum of the fridge, feeling the absence of her legs against mine. I replayed the warning signs. The argument last month when I'd asked if she was happy. Of course I'm happy. Why would you even ask? Are you unhappy? A dodge disguised as concern. The way she'd introduced me at her work events. This is Leo, he's in tech, like presenting a semi-interesting accessory. The anniversary trip to Costa Rica I'd planned, which she complained was too far from stable Wi-Fi before reluctantly agreeing, only to spend half the vacation poolside on calls with Mark. Each memory slotted into place, forming a montage of neglect, all of it crowned with her final stunning dismissal. It's networking. I stood. My body felt almost buoyant. This wasn't a heartbreak. It was an overdue. Escape. Waiting for me to finally unlatch the door. I went to the hall closet and grabbed my gym duffel, the tough one I used for weekend getaways. My movements were deliberate, efficient, the same mindset I used when unraveling a complicated bug in code. This was just another process needing to be terminated. Rule 1. Take only what is unquestionably yours. Clothes from my side of the closet, my passport, the documents from the fireproof box, my laptop and charger, the novel waiting on my nightstand, the toiletries I kept on my half of the sink. That was it. I left the monogrammed cufflinks she'd gifted me 2 birthdays ago neatly in their velvet box. I left the pricey watch from her first big bonus, the one that always felt less like a present and more like branding, a way to sculpt me into the version of a man she wanted to display beside her. Rule 2. Leave nothing sentimental behind. No long explanations, no parting note. That kind of closure belonged to relationships that still had traces of mutual care. A letter would be an invitation, a thread she could tug, a doorway back into conflict. My disappearance would be the only message. The returned key would be the period at the end of the sentence. I filled the duffel in under 20 minutes. It was startling how little of this beautifully curated apartment was actually mine. I'd funded it, yes, but she had designed it. A showroom to present the life she wanted to embody, to Mark, to the world, maybe even to herself. I did one final walkthrough, the living room with the couch we chose together. The kitchen where I'd cooked countless dinners hoping she'd come home early for once. The bedroom that had become nothing more than a shared sleeping space, where her back had become a cold, unyielding barrier. There was no ache, no tug of nostalgia. It all felt staged, like a tastefully decorated rental unit. It hadn't been a home for a long time. I was just finally checking out. I walked to the kitchen counter. The slab of polished granite she insisted was the only option. I slid my key off the ring, the silver key to this place, the symbol of shared life, of being part of something. It looked tiny lying on the vast, cool stone. I didn't write a message. I didn't arrange it meaningfully. I just left it there in the middle of the spotless counter beneath the harsh glow of the pendant light. A simple item returned. I hoisted the duffel onto my shoulder. I took one long breath of the apartment air, rosemary, her perfume, a hint of lemon cleaner. Then I let it out, and with it, everything else. I stepped into the hallway and shut the door behind me. The soft click of the latch sounded final. I didn't glance back. My car waited in its assigned spot in the garage, the familiar motions, turning the key, the engine rumbling awake, the headlights washing across bare concrete, felt strangely detached, like muscle memory from another life. I pulled out into the quiet city. Rain had slicked the streets, turning neon signs and streetlights into long, shimmering ribbons on the pavement. I didn't head to a friend's couch. I wasn't looking for comfort or conversation or the rehearsal of the night's events. I needed stillness, a space big enough for this new reality to settle. I pulled into the parking lot of a mid-range chain hotel out by the highway, a place I'd driven past hundreds of times without noticing. The stark fluorescent lobby felt unintentionally gentle. The night clerk barely looked up as he handed me a keycard for a room on the 4th floor. The room was exactly right. Featureless beige walls, a generic framed print, 2 double beds. I'd only use one. It smelled faintly of overworked air conditioning and industrial cleaner. It was nobody's space. It was ideal. I dropped my bag, kicked off my shoes, and lay back on the stiff comforter, eyes on the textured ceiling. And for the first time in what felt like years, my mind was silent. The constant hum of worry, wondering if I was enough, decoding her shifting moods, feeling her love seep away a little more each day, vanished. In its place was a wide, calm emptiness. I pictured her at the loft, leaning toward Mark, laughing too loudly, brushing his arm for emphasis. I felt nothing, no sting, no envy. It was like catching a glimpse of a movie I'd stopped caring about. The story had moved on without me. I picked up my phone and moved through it with deliberate ease. Every app, every link, every digital connection. One by one, I cut the threads. Instagram unfollowed, blocked. Facebook unfriended, blocked. Spotify removed from shared playlists. Venmo privacy tightened. All of it clean, simple, final. I left one path open. Her number. I didn't block it. The part of me that operated like a scientist. The part that needed to observe the experiment, all the way to the final data point. Wanted to see the outcome. So I muted the thread. The alerts would stay hidden, but the messages would still collect if I ever chose to open them. Then I plugged in my phone, set my usual morning alarm, switched off the lamp, and let the room fall into darkness. The hotel's darkness felt complete, unfamiliar, almost foreign. And in that strange, scentless room, I dropped into a deep, dreamless sleep. The kind that only arrives once a long, exhausting burden has been lifted, and something inside you finally has space to breathe again. I didn't wake once. When my alarm chirped at 6:30 a.m., I opened my eyes to a ceiling I didn't recognize. For a moment, I felt untethered. Then the previous night drifted back to me, not as a blow but as a simple truth. Right, I left. I felt rested, lucid. I got up, oured in the cramped bathroom, and dressed in the clothes I'd packed. I had a 9 a.m. stand-up meeting. My life, was waiting. As I bent to tie my shoes, my phone buzzed violently against the nightstand. Not a call, a rapid-fire series of vibrations, messages arriving in a rush to fill the silence I'd created. I didn't touch the phone. I finished tying my laces. I zipped my toiletries back into the bag. I smoothed the rumpled duvet with deliberate calm. Only then did I pick up the phone. I didn't open anything. I just watched the previews scroll across the locked screen, a frantic ticker from a world I'd stepped out of. Qley, 6:42 a.m. Leo, where are you? My key isn't working. Qley, 6:44 a.m. Did you change the locks? What is going on? Qley, 6:47 a.m. Why is your key here? Call me. Qley, 6:53 a.m. You're doing this over one stupid fight? You're throwing away 5 years because you're insecure? Qley, 7:01 a.m. Please, baby, I'm sorry, I was stressed, it was just work. Come home, let's talk. The last preview cut off mid-sentence, but the message was still clear. Qley, 7:15 a.m. Don't throw us away over nothing. I smiled, small, quiet, entirely to myself. Then I swiped them all away, clearing the screen. I picked up my duffel, took one last look at the blank forgiving room, and walked out. Outside, the morning air was crisp. Sunlight was beginning to break through gray clouds. I had a meeting to attend. The following week unfolded in near total quiet. I didn't return to the hotel. I called my landlord, a straightforward guy named Rye, and told him there had been a sudden, permanent end to the relationship. I asked about breaking the lease. He heard something resolute in my tone and, after a sympathetic grunt, said we could use a family emergency clause. I offered to cover 2 months' rent as a penalty. It felt like a bargain. I rented a furnished studio downtown, smaller, lighter, facing a brick wall. I loved it instantly. It was mine. Every choice in that space, the coffee brand, the angle of the sofa, the way the windows opened, belonged to me alone. The quiet there wasn't oppressive, it was expansive. My phone became a window into the chaos I'd stepped away from. I checked the muted thread once a day, the way one might read news from a distant crumbling nation. The dispatches, day 1, a flood of panic, rage, and emotional leverage. Qley, 8:02 a.m. You're really ghosting me after everything? I can't believe how childish you're being. Qley, 11:30 a.m. My mom says you're having some breakdown. She says to give you space, but this is insane. Qley, 4:17 p.m. Leo, please. I'm sorry about how I said it, but you have to understand how much pressure I'm under. Mark says this presentation could make my career. Qley, 11:11 p.m. I'm sitting in our apartment alone. It feels so empty. I hate this. Please come home. Day 2. The tone softened, shifting to injured bewilderment. Qley, 9:15 a.m. I don't get it. Was it really just the drinks? Are you that insecure? We can go to couples therapy. I'll go. Qley, 7:45 p.m. I told Mark everything. He says the way you're acting is emotionally abusive, possessive. That one nearly made me smile. Me? Abusive? The projection was immaculate. Day 3, bargaining. Qley, 10:05 a.m. What if I swear, no more late night work stuff without you? We can create boundaries, just talk to me. Qley, 5:20 p.m. I stopped by your office. They said you're remote today. Where are you staying? A cold, precise chill cut through me. She wasn't grieving, she was reconning. This was no heartbreak, it was a retrieval operation. Day 4, the first voicemail, her voice syrupy, thick, carefully tremoured. Leo, it's me. I don't know what to say. I keep replaying everything. Andy, I miss you. This is all such a dumb misunderstanding. Call me, please. We're stronger than this. Delete. The acting was weak. Each breath, each quiver felt placed with tweezers. Day 7, the first emissary. Unknown number. Hey Leo, it's Jessica, Qley's friend. Look man, she's a wreck. She screwed up, okay? Work was stressing her out. You're really gonna toss out 5 years over one slip? Be the adult. Call her. My reply, blocked. Day 10. Her camp had the narrative locked in. I was the jealous, fragile boyfriend who couldn't handle her meteoric rise. I could feel it orbiting around me. I didn't care. Then 3 weeks in, the first tectonic shift, Derek called, a mutual who'd always lived on the border fence. I almost let it ring out. Leo, hey, just checking in, heard things went nuclear. They did, I said, tone flat. Yeah, so, I'm not choosing sides, but you should know things at Qley's company are bad. Some big HR complaint, not aimed at her exactly, but she's tangled in it with Mark. Apparently his wife got an anonymous email with pictures from the loft. And not of spreadsheets. I didn't ask specifics. I see, yeah, Mark's on leave. And rumor is he's trying to save himself by blaming anyone nearby. That whole future star thing Qley had doesn't look great now. Pretty rough atmosphere for her. That's unfortunate, I said. And I meant it. Unfortunate like a landslide on a mountain someone insisted was safe. She's telling people you left, 'cause you couldn't deal with her success, Derek added carefully. But now, with the HR stuff, people are kinda connecting the dots. They tend to, I answered. Thanks for the update. I've gotta run. I hung up. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like physics. Actions, consequences, the dull mechanics of gravity. Silence followed. 2 full weeks of it. I imagined the corporate melt. Down, HR debriefings, whispered gossip, frantic PR scrambles, the slow collapse of her curated image, her storyline disintegrating, and the man she'd gambled everything on cutting the rope. Then one night, a burst of messages. The rage and manipulation had been sanded down by pure collapse. Qley, 11:14 p.m. They fired me. Said I wasn't a culture match. He did this. He told them I was unstable. He said I made a move on him. Qley, 11:16 p.m. I don't have anyone. Not one person. My friends, they think he's telling the truth. Qley, 11:23 p.m. I'm so alone. I'm so sorry for everything. You were right about all of it. I didn't see it until now. I read them from my quiet studio apartment. What I felt wasn't anger. It wasn't triumph. Just a detached historical pity. Like studying someone who made a catastrophically bad choice in a textbook. I didn't answer. Replying would be tossing a rope into quicksand. I was on solid ground, and I had no intention of stepping back in. A month later, her mother called. I let it ring out. Leo, dear, it's Marion. I don't even know how to begin. She isn't herself. She's lost her job, her confidence. I know she hurt you, but this silence, it's unkind. She's learned her lesson. Surely you can find forgiveness. She needs you right now. I deleted it. The entitlement was astonishing. She needs you now, as if I were some household appliance. Retrieve when convenient, store away when not. Clearly the tree and its fruit shared roots. I didn't block her mother. I simply didn't save the number. A year later, almost to the exact minute since I'd placed my key on the granite counter, I returned from a run. My life had shifted. The studio had become a one-bedroom with a view worth pausing for. I'd been promoted, leading my own project team. I was seeing someone lightly, a graphic designer named Maya, who laughed easily and had no appetite for corporate kingdoms. She wasn't over that night. I was looking forward to a shower, a steak, and a fresh documentary. I turned onto my street, my running shoes whisper soft, and saw her. She sat on the stone wall bordering the building's courtyard, looking like a traveler who'd lost her map. She seemed smaller. The sharp blazers were gone, replaced with a tired pills-at-the-elbows sweater. Her hair pulled back plain, no elaborate gloss. Her eyes were fixed on her hands. When she looked up and recognized me, her entire body jolted. I didn't pause. I didn't slow or quicken. I walked toward my building, keys already between my fingers. Leo. Her voice was rough, worn down. I stopped a few feet from the gate, outside her reach. I met her eyes. I felt absolutely nothing, not fury, not sympathy, not even memory. She was like a piece of furniture abandoned by previous tenants, familiar shape, no personal meaning. Qley, I said, a simple designation like stating sidewalk. She stood, wringing her hands. God, you look really good. I said nothing. I waited. Then the flood came. I made the worst mistake of my life. I was chasing success, chasing the idea of becoming someone. Mark, he twisted everything. He fed my ambition. I was blind. I lost it all. My job, my name, my friends, everyone believed him. I've been in therapy for 6 months. I see everything now, how much I hurt you, how I took you for granted. You were my foundation, and I threw it away. She paused, scanning my face for some softening, some invitation. She found a smooth, sealed surface. I've changed, Leo. I'm not who I was. I'm grounded now. I understand what we had. It was real. This year has been nothing but emptiness. It showed me how rich my life was with you, how much love I tossed aside. She stepped closer, unsteady. Can we just talk? Not to get back together. I'm not asking for that, just to clear the air, for closure. You owe yourself that, don't you? To not just walk away. There it was, the final flimsy lure. You owe yourself this. Her attempt to make my peace dependent on giving her an audience. I looked at her, at the desperation, the cracked pride, the ruins of the woman who once declared her right to midnight networking. I thought of the quiet year behind me, the steak waiting in my fridge, the ease in my ribs. Qley, I said, voice calm, courteous, empty, the tone of a bank clerk declining a loan. I'm glad you came to say that, truly, and I'm genuinely glad you're in therapy. I hope you find what you're searching for. Her expression collapsed, not into sorrow, but into stunned frustration. This wasn't the script. Where were the fireworks, the heartbreak, the turbulence? She fumbled. That's it? After everything I just told you. I hope you find what you're looking for, Leo. I'm telling you, I'm looking for you, for a chance to make things right, for you to see I'm not that person anymore. I tilted my head slightly, the way you do when evaluating a mildly tricky equation. But you are, I said softly. You're still presenting this as something I need to do, to perceive, to recognize, to forgive, to give you closure. You're listing what you require. You came here looking for a resource you assumed I still had to offer. My focus, my emotional labor. She blinked, stunned. All the therapy language she'd been leaning on had just been mirrored back at her, stripped of its polish, turned into a scalpel. I don't have that for you anymore, I continued. That account is closed. There's no outstanding debt. Nothing to untangle on my end. My closure was the click of the lock behind me. The restraint in her expression snapped, scorching away the practiced humility. There she was, the real Qley, the one beneath. Wilted exterior. Her voice hardened, sharp and accusing. So that's it? You're just going to let me sink after 5 years? You were supposed to be the good guy, the decent one, and you're just this cold, unfeeling machine. I nearly smiled. The mask had slipped completely. She wasn't a remorseful soul, she was a strategist whose last gambit had failed, furious that her final angle had been dismissed with ease. I glanced briefly at the building entrance behind her, my haven, my quiet. Then I met her eyes again, holding her gaze with a steady, irrevocable finality, like turning a key in a lock. You told me it was nothing, I said, my voice so low she had to lean in. That night, you begged me not to end us over nothing. I accepted that. The blood drained from her face. She understood. She had minimized her betrayal into insignificance, and I had simply applied her logic. If it was nothing, then losing it costs nothing. I had taken her literally. She realized in that second that she'd written herself out of relevance. I didn't wait for whatever came next. I turned, slid my key into the gate, pushed it open, and stepped through. I walked the short path to the inner door, unlocked it, and entered the warm, silent lobby. I didn't turn around. I didn't listen for footsteps or tears. The only sound that registered was the deep, satisfying thud of the glass door closing and locking automatically behind me. I knew that sound well. It was the same one I'd heard from a hotel bed a year earlier, the sound of freedom settling into place. It was the sound of my peace, whole and untouched. I rode the elevator up to my apartment. I showered. I cooked my steak. I put on my documentary, this one about restoring ancient forests. I sat on my couch in the quiet, generous space I'd created for myself, and I didn't think of her at all. She had become exactly what she insisted her betrayal was. Nothing. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.